Hi, my name is Dan Paulson, and welcome to my channel, Just One Truth. This is part 6 in an installment where I am using a set of repeatably usable and viewable esoteric keys, a special technique to look at the teachings of Jesus to reveal if there is something nested deeper inside. This is the same technique that I would use on Lao Tzu or the Buddha. If you're here to hear about Jesus and Christianity, this is not going to be your channel. If you're here to see if Jesus was one of antiquity's spiritual teaching masters, then I can say this is your channel. And I can also say that there's a religious layer in there called Christianity that claims Jesus, while Jesus never claimed Christianity. So the nesting is difficult. What we're doing here is using this technique. And this technique actually is the same technique if you use it on any world teaching. It will reveal that they all teach the same thing. All these differences, all these outer differences are just local beliefs that are the carrier shell for the masses of the population that don't want to do this inner path. But every one of these religions nest that inner path. And I'm here to reveal how that looks, show you, and let you see for yourself. It's really just a verbal technique. It's a way of understanding that in their culture they knew that they had to go inward to heal themselves. The people that got to that point tried to pass that through the population, I would speculate, and look around. Who would pass that around? It wouldn't be very popular. So you take that teaching and you nest it inside of a religion that the people will carry. And I think that's what it looks to me like has happened over, well, many thousands of years. But you have to look for yourself. And I'll show you how that looks. I've got links posted below to the first videos. So if you want to catch up on how I got here, there's a lot of description I put in along the way, trying to kind of build this network of not only mental, but the ideas of how Jesus encompasses teachings in Judaism, but Judaism nor Christianity reveal what is really nested inside. Those are both carrier shells. And when I unlock this, you'll see how that works. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to move on to the next segment. Here we had judging others. Do not judge so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take the speck out of your eye, while the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. Okay, this one is very dense. It's very dense. It's going to be fun. Let's spend a little time with it. Do not judge so that you may not be judged. We listen to the words and we go do that and we think, okay, if you do not judge other people and you try to be nice, then it should be some sort of a reciprocal thing. And does that mean from that person? Does that mean from God? Does it mean whatever? And there are times where people get judged that aren't judging others. So you look at this and go, if you really start asking questions about it, for with the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. Does that mean if you go give somebody a sandwich, you're going to get a sandwich? When you start looking at it, it doesn't sound very solid. It doesn't hold up to scrutiny very well. It doesn't seem like some sort of a magical teaching thing that solves a life problem. So we turn it inward. Do not judge. We're the ones that aren't supposed to judge, but I'm going to go to some place they couldn't go. As life unfolds and we make decisions about something that we view, that's good, that's bad, we judge it at that moment. At that moment, it goes into our brain, stored electrically and chemically. And it is an energy that resides there under whatever you gave it. I don't like it. I hate it. Some stuff is very benign, but some stuff is very intense. And the intense stuff is the stuff that gives us problems. That acts out in us. Think about this for a second. When we are all born, our brains are not networked. We have not had experiences. We are an open slate. We can become pretty much anything that a human can become. Just put us in the right environment and tell us the right things, and we will believe that. We will become Christians. We will become Jews. We will become Muslims. We will become Hindus. We will become anything, anywhere. Where do you grow up? What are you conditioned? What networks into your head? And then you, as an organism that wants to survive, thinks, I'm going, I'm right, I'm taking this and I'm going. And everybody, wherever they come from, does that without realizing, I could have been something different if I was somewhere else. Let's stop and think about this for a second. I'm wired. I got programmed to be who and what I am. If I had a twin at birth that got separated and we grew up around the world in different religions and became very ensconced in them, we might kill each other at some point. What happened? We judged. We put something away. We decided something. We committed to something as being a reality. All the while we're being raised and being told, don't question, we are right, they are wrong, and that becomes your reality. We don't learn to question who tells us things, and we need to. You need to question everything people tell you, especially if they are in a small local scale and they're telling you what reality is. I think if somebody's talking to you about reality and maybe putting it on a global scale, I would be more interested and open to something like that. But we need to step out of that. We need to realize that's what's happening and rise above that mass, that sea that we came up through, and understand that that's exactly what's happening. We're coming up through that. But always, in all cultures, emergence through that was something, like I said, that was nested in their teaching that was for their local population. And you can kind of see that, how that would work and why it would work that way. And then life emerges, really, it's not tit for tat. It is conceptual and emotional. It's more that the way you feel is what you use to choose how to continue to experience your life. And you're not choosing that. We're not consciously deciding that we want to do that. We are doing that absent-mindedly. We are allowing our feelings and our experiences to dictate our mood instead of understanding that the way we feel is the byproduct of something else that's messed up. We have to fix what is messed up to change the way we feel. And that changes our life as well. And we're kind of radiating that emotion into our local environment. And we tend to kind of activate. We trigger people. They trigger us. Everybody's right. Yeah, we got to fight through it. Those are the things we're trying to stop experiencing. Those are the things that, as long as we continue to hold those inside of us in judgment, then our life continues to cycle around it in that same way. That is why, with the measure we judge, we will be judged. We're cycling around that which we're not letting go of. That's another way of saying it. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take the speck out of your eye, while the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. Okay, sounds goofy, kind of, except we know where it's going already. If we're at this point, we know where this is going, but I want to stop for a minute and remember that it's 2,000 years ago. That's when we're getting this. We don't know anything about what they're talking about. So we're trying to read this based on what we would probably know then. Let me take the speck out of your eye while the log is in your own eye. And you would know right away that, oh, there's something weird there. There's something mysterious because nobody has anything in their eye. It must be something different. Yeah, there must be something different. It's kind of driving you to go look. It says, you hypocrite. Hypocrite is one of the words you will see Jesus use. When he uses that term hypocrite, What he means is any person who is still split. You know, the verse, when you make the two one and say to this mountain, move, it will move. That's the two of you. If you want to succeed in life, you take the two and make them back into one, getting rid of the divisions. Same things all along here, combining. The hypocrite is the person that is split. Whenever Jesus uses that term, that's what he is meaning, the person that is not on the path, that is not combined or combining. You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. Yeah, down in that sea of people, everybody helping people on who to listen to get ahead in life while they're all remaining in the sea of people. We need to elevate. I think they called it ascend. Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them underfoot and turn and maul you. Okay, I believe this one is straight up. It sounds brutal, but I think that don't look at dogs and swine as bad things. What is holy is this teaching. This teaching is how to get inside and what to do. And if you are the right kind of person, you will want that. But the vast majority of people would say, no, that is not right. I don't want what you're talking about. That's crazy. It's not my fault. Somebody else did it. When the people don't make that turn, they can't see inside. They won't like the sounds of it because it entails looking at the self and getting through the part of the ego that insists they be right. And boy, that's a tough path. My God, that's a hard path. It is really hard. You have to really want to do that. There has to be a number of conditions right for people to do that. And there we are. Don't give the story to the general public. It'll get trampled. It'll get dropped. It won't go anywhere. And they'll turn and maul you. You tell them, I don't care who it is. I don't care what religion in the world. You let them know, oh, your understanding is layer 2 at the carrier level. I know what's inside of it. Yeah, they don't like that. No, they don't like that. I'm going to put the brakes on right here. How did that interpretation sound? How did it feel? That, in one way, part of me feels like, yeah, I got a hold of something other people don't have, and you feel good and you feel egotistical about it. And you think, it's a true statement. You don't tell them stuff like that because they do get angry about it. All the things I just said are very true, but they're in the physical world. As far as Jesus' teachings, there's a lot of things in there that are very obscure. There's a lot of parable, and there's other things that are kind of weird or some sound plain language, and you have to ask yourself, if is this person all over the place with their language, sometimes saying something obscure and sometimes not? What would that look like today? Go to the store and get a frozen pizza. Make sure to feed your soul along the way and pick up some ice cream. And you're I know that's a horrible example, but you're like dipping in and out of this plain language spiritual verse. Is that what's happening, or is there something else going on? I think we're far enough along now to realize I think I just want to look at what Jesus teaches as a spiritual teacher. I want to take everything he says and assume that he is nesting something in there. And I want to know what he nested, not what I believe it says or what I want it to say. I want to know what he's telling me. And so you have to really go in open-minded. So we need to take this verse and make it about ourselves. But I think that we can practice on a different one first that will make this one easier to understand. There is the one where Jesus tells you that you cannot put new wine in an old wineskin or else you will ruin the wine. That you must put new wine in a new wineskin. Then, therefore, the implication when you turn it inward is that we are the wineskin. The new wine is the new way of life, and we need to remove the old stuff before we put the new stuff in, or it doesn't change. It ruins what we're trying to do. We can't leave in the old stuff. His entire teaching is about trying to clear out that eye, getting rid of the stuff. And we're on line with that, and we're We're on the path to the kingdom of heaven within. We're looking for an easy place to live where it's smooth and easy and life is just okay. So we're getting rid of the things that are in the way. Okay, having said all of that, we come back to this verse and say, and read it again. Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them underfoot and turn and maul you. This is the old wine in the vessel lesson in a completely different way. The dogs and the swine in this case are not representative of the people around us, but inside of us, what they become are the elements that we don't want. And if we're just throwing holy at them while leaving them in place and trying to work around them, it won't work. And they'll turn and maul you. You'll even get pissed off. Leave me alone. You don't understand what I'm going through. You have not felt my kind of pain. You know, we do those kinds of things. This verse has that third layer. Be careful when you listen to people interpret. Always find the answer that suits you and not somebody else's answer. It grows. It continues to network. But that's what happens with all of us, right? That's Jesus' story of the mustard seed, how it grows. But honestly, that's the story of the human brain and how it networks. The kingdom of God, the kingdom of anything, whatever you do, the kingdom of God is your life. Yeah, it networks. It sure does. Good, bad, or whatever. Anyway, this lesson is a tricky one. Sometimes we're tempted when a verse easily translates into that second layer. But what is it doing? What is it accomplishing? I think if one does the interpretation and just sticks to a set of rules that are logical rules, like what I've come up with here, and I certainly want to reiterate that they're theoretical, and I don't in any way, shape, or form think that that's all there is to it. Seriously, this is what I found. Have a look. What do you think? I would rather have independent corroboration than tell people here's what there is. I don't work that way. I think there's some people that don't work that way. We're the ones here doing this now. Okay, let's move on. Ask, search, knock. Ask, and it will be given you. Search, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened for you. For everyone who asks receives, and everyone who searches finds, and for everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. Is there anyone among you who, if your child asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if the child asks for a fish, will give them a snake? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Okay, we are way beyond Jesus 101. We are deep into this, so let's turn the corner, go inside, and go right to the fun place. This verse is like the others, but it's just so pretty. It contains some incredible stuff in here. Okay, ask and it will be given you. Search and you will find. Knock and the door will be open for you. Right off there, the door, inside. Knock. If you want to go in, you can go in. Roomy's door. I've been standing on the lip of insanity, knocking. The door opens. I've been standing on the inside. We have to turn inward to go clean out our eye. We know that that's perceptions now. We are farther along. We can advance their understanding. Okay, so there's something that happens somehow, and I want to tell you that in the same way that the things you do not like unfold, the things that you do like also unfold. So as you desire things, and if you hold those desires, you're going to find that you're going to be cycling around that as well. The same way you would cycle around the negative things, you will cycle around the positive things. If you have a desire for this, you will gain this. But this is something that is very available. It is inside of you. It is something that like networks from your brain. This is fun. Remember those times that you're thinking of the title of a song or an artist or something like that, and it slipped your mind, and you just, you finally quit. And then later on, when you're not even thinking about it and the situation is done, it pops right into your mind. That's the mechanism right there. When you're looking for answers to what it is that is inside of you, that is coming out, that is being revealed to you, and you're questioning yourself and saying, why am I doing this? Why is this cycling out? At the moment you're asking that, you won't get an answer. But later on, as you're doing something else, and you have to go let your mind be still. I would walk in the desert. I would go off, and that's when I kind of discovered what was happening, is that I would catch myself later on when I wasn't thinking about it, somehow in my memory, reliving something from childhood that I had an emotional attachment to, and I realized, damn it, that's it. That's what I'm looking for right there. It emerges like that. It will come out in that same kind of a mechanism, but you have to allow it to come out. A caveat. It's harder to spot. What you're looking for are answers that are potentially obscure. You know the name of the song you're looking for. You know the name of the actor. Those are very clear in your mind. The answer you're looking for might not have that kind of clarity. It's going to come to you in a very nebulous manner sometimes. It might be difficult to see the clues. And if you want to go in and open that door, you can. This section right here is perfect. It's spot on money. Is there anyone among you who, if your child asks for bread, will give a stone, or if the child asks for a fish, will give a snake? Okay, we got to bring some things in from a couple of other places here. There's some precedent in other places to help us explain this one. The children, we already know, are the offspring of our experiences, our judgments. The entity that lives there in some kind of manner, a good one or a bad one, a Cain or a Abel, a positive or a negative, a good or a bad. Yeah, we got it. That child is what is inside of us. So we've just went inside. We've just opened the door. We're searching for answers, and we're finding our children. The children are the offspring of our experiences, our pain, our shame, our anger, our hatred. The child is asked for bread or fish. What are fish and bread? This is where we're going to go grab another story. When Jesus fed the multitude, I would explain that miracle story metaphorically as the fish and the bread are feeding the soul. It's the knowledge, it's the information that is being portrayed, that is given out, that is feeding the people. There was a smaller amount to begin with, and as you teach, as you give all of that information out, it grows, it continues, everybody learns, everybody gets their fill. The teacher learns more. That is a process that continues because we're still networking. We're still applying ourselves to that. And we are also sharing our feelings in that emotional kind of channel, that sixth sense region. There's a lot going for us there that we don't know. And it looks mysterious, but I think it's just very normally there. Okay, so we have these children now that are looking for knowledge. What is a stone and what is a snake? Very quickly, let's just take an example from Jacob's ladder. He's laying on the ground with his head on a stone while he envisions the ladder going upwards. So his head is tied to the earth at that moment right there. There's a stone. This child wants to grow. Would you give them a stone? Would you tell them no? Or are you going to bring them out? Are you going to emerge them? And if the child will ask for a fish, we'll give a snake. Even, the snake, the Joseph Campbell hero's journey, the snake representing metaphorically or symbolically being tied to the ground, can never rise above, no legs, no arms, can't climb, can't fly. This is tied to a ground level. Would you do that with your children? So here are your children. If you take it literally, it's not worth very much. If you take it internally and you use those continuous elements that appear over and over and over again, then it emerges as heal yourself. Take those things in you that are hurt and give them something different. Take away their shame and give them love, give them understanding, give them conceptually somehow something different, which changes the way you feel about them, which changes the way they reside in you, which changes the way that they act out in life. If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Okay, this just finalizes or caps what we just learned there. If we are evil, but we know how to give good gifts to our children, which heals our children, which makes our children cease to become evil people, how much will our Father... Okay, remembering thousands of years ago, we have a belief that there is a Father out there and that we are getting some kind of reciprocal returns from the conviction of our mental process. We don't understand it in those terms. So we have to keep working at making this correlation here. But if we heal ourselves, life unfolds for us in a way that is different than what it is now. Our life always unfolds for us based on who and what we are and what we have inside. And if we don't like what's there, we change what is there by changing what is here, which changes. They're like rudders in the current of life or whatever. It's almost sometimes easier to use metaphor to explain things than words. But that's exactly it. And that's what is continually being gone after here. Okay, next we move on to the golden rule. In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you, for this is the law and the prophets. Boy, he was pretty clear about that. This is the law and the prophets. This is karma. Become the embodiment up here of what you want your life to be. And if your life isn't right, fix this. Next is the narrow gate. Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road is easy that leads to destruction, and there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow and the road is hard that leads to life, and there are few who find it. What is the gate on this search? It's this inward, turning inward, going inside your own head, going in your own experience, in your consciousness and in your subconscious, in the place where all of the fun things are and the scary things are. Going in there and basically cleaning house. That is the narrow gate, and it is the hard road, but it leads to life, and there are few who find it. Yeah, that's what that means. A tree and its fruit. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorns or figs from thistles? In the same way, every good tree bears good fruit, but the bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, you will know them by their fruits. Okay, this one works incredibly well when you look outwardly. False prophets, boy, that's anybody at layer 2 as far as I'm concerned. Inwardly ravenous wolves, you would actually look at people like maybe evangelicals and whatnot. You can find people out there that, would you call them false prophets? I would call a false prophet anybody who is looking outward. Even if they're interpreting the verse, but they're not looking inward. They're looking out someplace. To me, that's a false prophet. And that's a tough thing to say, but that means the person who believes in God and holds the Bible is a false prophet. We don't have to go there. If we look at this, though, and turn it upon ourselves, that's where it comes into play. This is about self-observation and recognizing what is going on. A false prophet is somebody who is to and teaching the way, that they don't know that it's inward. That's anybody. That would be us before we start on this trip as well. Sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. If we are the kind of people that need to go on this path, what we're doing is we've got a pile of hurt inside, and we've got it tucked away. Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body. It's that massive collection of judgments, of hurt, of pain, shame, all the bad, nasty, ugly stuff we don't like about us that we've got buried away inside. That's the ravenous wolf. The sheep's clothing is us going, everything's fine. Oh, my life's fine. Yeah, I got no issues. We're being false prophets to ourselves. We are known by our fruits. When we are acting out, when we're screaming, when we're yelling, what triggered us? What is the fruit? Is it anger? Is it shame? Is it something to do with whatever in life? Look at it, examine it. What is It's cycling around. What are the common components? You will recognize what you are doing and when you're acting out if you observe yourself, but take that moment if you can and follow it in. Catch yourself and say, this is manifesting. That's old material too. To everything there is a season under heaven, Yeah, stuff cycles. Everything cycles. It comes back. It has a life. It dies. It comes back. We have to get the seed. This thing is cyclically returning. It is seasonally returning. That doesn't mean every year. That means every time its season is, whatever its cycle is, depending on how bad it is, how triggered it is, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. You have to observe yourself. If you are screaming and yelling at people because they don't get it right, you got to look at yourself. If you're angry or you're ashamed or you're fearful, you got to look at all of those things and look at them for what they are. You will know what it is by how it feels, by how it looks, by how it acts, by how it influences the people in your environment. You will know what that is. Then go ask, where does it come from? Seek, knock, find the source, become aware of it, look at it, forgive who hurt you, acknowledge yourself as somebody who didn't get acknowledged back then. Let yourself off the hook. Emerging it into the light like that begins to lessen its intensity as a negative entity, for lack of a better term. It's really just a stored energy that is showing itself as it emerges. Looks like a creature. It's not. It's a memory. We're amazing. We are freaking amazing. Thus you will know them by our fruits. Cut it down, throw it into the fire. Every tree that does not bear good fruit, everything you do that doesn't work out okay, find the seed, follow it down, cut it down, pull it out by the root. All of those metaphors. It's a structure. Jesus has another one where he tells people to go in and grab the cornerstone and, wipe out the entire temple and rebuild it. That's it. Go to the seed. Go to the original point where that fruit is coming from. Whether it's, if it's good fruit, don't even look at it. It's the bad fruit you're going after. You got to clear the garden. You got to pull the weeds. You got to make friends with the skeletons in your closet or exorcise your demons. All of the above. You're really just healing yourself. You're taking and changing your perception about something that is hurtful that you're carrying with you, that charges it in that way so that it continues to act out in that way, and minimizing the charge that is there, that is negative, that is hurtful, that is derogatory in some way, that hurts you in some way, and changing it to a charge where it doesn't act out that way anymore. And that's hard. Imagine what that takes. Imagine a girl being molested her entire life or something like that. That's going to be some tough stuff. Think about that. Yeah, that's tough. However, getting to a point of recognition where you begin to understand and realize that what happened to you was an event in your life on your path of existence, and that it doesn't define who and what you are unless you continue to allow the emotional state to be what is in charge. Changing that is what is changing the condition, pulling the root, getting rid of not just the bad fruit. Getting rid of the bad fruit means what? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Chopping down the tree. I promise I will never do that again. I will give you something if I do. Then what happens? You blow up and it happens anyway. The seed's still there. You got to go after the original point of conceptualizing your judgment of that event. And that is what has to change. That is pulling the seed. That's how these metaphors all work, and these analogies. The next one is concerning self-deception. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and do many deeds of power in your name? Then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Go away from me, you evildoers. Okay, this is a fun one. It doesn't have a spiritual lesson for people on the path. This is an admonishment to the people who are at level 2, saying, we are doing everything in your name. We are living our lives in your name. We are, when Jesus is saying, you have to do the will of my Father in heaven. This path is inward. This is it. And for all of you who are worshiping me, I never knew you. Hearers and doers. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on rock. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell, and great was its fall. You know what? It sounds to me like Jesus is starting to summarize this teaching right here. Basically, in the end, letting you know that if you've succeeded, you will be stout, you will be confident, you will be firm in your belief. But I'm going to tell you what, people that are completely wrong can be very confident in their belief. So I look at this and think, well, okay. If you're on this path and you go in and you keep getting shaken off, you can apply it to yourself. But if you stay on the path and you do accomplish everything and you clear it all out, you will have a handle on what to do. You will know the path. Okay, it wraps up with these last 2 verses. Now when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as their scribes. So apparently, at the very minimum, we can get out of this that Jesus did not teach them like the scribes that were teaching Jewish law and what the Jewish Torah and religious books were teaching. Jesus was teaching something else. And maybe we should leave it at that. That wraps it up. But I've got a couple of closing comments. Number one, if you go through here and you go through this process in the way that it unfolded using these esoteric keys, it is the same mental path that if you took Buddha's path to seeking nirvana, the path inward, the path to letting go, the path to finding freedom, Jesus takes you to that same place. So do all of the other teachings, however. I'm just using those 2 as a comparison. That is something that should be visible as I went through this and it emerges from there. Jesus never at this layer 3 tells you to go worship God, to worship him, or that he's God, or that he's the Son of God, or anything like that. The lessons are all about going in and resolving the issues that you have within yourself. But they're worded in these very obscure, outward-looking ways that people don't mess with very much. I think I just tightened up the definition. I think this is what it is supposed to mean, what I just covered there. Anyway, that's it. I wanted to say more things, but I realized this is the decoding the Sermon on the Mount using esoteric keys. Jesus was not a Christian, and he never taught Christianity, and he never once insinuated that if you simply worship him, that he's got your butt. No, that's the wrong thing to do. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. I not only enjoyed it, but I feel like there's a a lot of fish and loaves left over, more than definitely than we started with. So thank you for that. Love one another. And this ends the series. I'll figure out what to do next and see you in the next video.